My peoples of RxD, what is poppin'? I have your Nchiit workout for Friday. So we're looking at two things. We have a shorter conditioning portion, which is going to be a 12-minute AMRAP first, and then we have what is meant to be an optional finisher. But I know you guys got tons of energy as well as nothing but time. So we don't have an optional finisher, we just have a finisher. So two different workouts. First one is going to be that 12-minute AMRAP. We're looking at 10 bent over rows, a 10 shoulder to overhead, and then a 50-foot shuttle run. We can use either a backpack, dumbbell. If we have access to a barbell, then I would love to see you guys challenge yourself by not necessarily going as fast, but going heavier than we have been. So I really like the pairing of these. It's going to tax your lats, it's going to tax your glutes just because of the type of movement that we are doing. So with our bent over row, let's start with that. I want to see you guys try and reach a really flat back position, like a tabletop. I usually tell you guys, hey, I want to see you really nice and flat, like I could eat dinner off your back. I know that sounds a little weird, but have you seen Eddie Murphy do it? I think he has a picture. So we're looking at holding our dumbbells just at our sides, slight bend in the knee, hips are going to go way back. So this is where I can get before I start to do a little bit of this. I'm going to hold here. I want to make sure that I can pull my dumbbells in my hands towards my hips rather than to my face. So by creating this action right here, I'm going to be using a lot more of my lower lat, which is what I want to target out of this movement, and take away a lot of the strain from the bicep. So when we have to go to our shoulder to overheads, there's going to be a little bit more arm action just because of the longer lever movement. So let's take a look at doing something like that shoulder to overhead. It can be a single dumbbell or a double dumbbell. It's meant to be with a backpack, but again, you guys can play around with whatever type of equipment that you have. I'm just going to use a single dumbbell. And you know what, for today, I kind of want to do a clean and push press. So I'm going to start with my feet just outside of my shoulders, probably in my squat stance. I'm going to send my hips back. I'm going to hold on to this dumbbell. My shoulders nice and low. I'm going to clean it. So I'm going to push myself away, and then from right here, shrug. Elbow goes a little bit high, and then I need to flick my elbow through. And I'm in my front rack position, one head of the dumbbell touching my shoulder. From here I can reset. I'm going to get that slight dip, so knees go just slightly to the outsides, my hips come back, and then I'm going to get a big vertical pop and hold at the top. Please make sure that you're able to center this dumbbell right above your head versus letting this thing float to the outside. If it were a barbell, this position right here makes sense, but because we only have one item and it's small, we're going to try and position it directly over our center. I'm going to bring it back down to my shoulder and come back down to the ground. You guys can choose to alternate. If you have a backpack, obviously it's two hands, but it's the same movement. No, the standards don't really ever change. I want to use my legs as much as I can, and I want to be quick through a transition, and then I want to use my legs as much as I can once again. The last thing is going to be that 50-foot shuttle run. So I want to make sure that we're not taking the shuttle run and cruising through it, where you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do my bent over rows, I'm going to do my shoulder to overhead, I'm just going to run to that little corner and back. No, I want you guys to sprint. And when we do this type of shuttle run, it's about change of direction. So here's the thing. We want to be careful with doing this. Okay, I'm running. I have my spot on the ground, and I do this. Okay, I'm here, and then I have to turn around. The trick is to, as you approach it, you're going to learn how to stutter step, plant your foot, and then as you plant your foot, you can either touch the ground if you really want to make it a true shuttle run, or I can just plant my foot at that stopping point, and then my job is to kind of pivot and then continue running in the other direction. So we are practicing that change of direction. If you want to make it more difficult, which I would love for you guys to, is set up maybe some cones or just some objects that are maybe only like 10 feet apart, and then you go back and forth only a few times, rather than running one single distance and only having to change direction one time. Let's practice changing directions multiple times. I think that would be really good for you guys, just because it's a stimulus that we don't happen to practice too often. So that's our 12-minute AMRAP. We're trying to get as many repetitions as we can out of those 3 movements. And then we have our finisher. So it's 3 sets. Remember, take as much time as you need in between those workouts. 10 RDLs, 20 arm haulers, and 60 Russian twists. So I can go back to my barbell, my backpack, or my dumbbells, and I'm just going to have a pretty narrow stance, slight bend in the knee, big bend in the hip. So we're really trying to use these guys and create a really long lever motion. So if you're really good at this and you're like, oh yeah, I can just touch my hands on the floor, well then maybe even stand on top of something to lengthen that range of motion. But I just want to see how well can you guys feel the stretch through here, and then keep your torso as rigid as possible. So we're going to load that long lever and practice our hinging. Then we have arm haulers. You guys haven't done these in quite a bit. If you remember, we're going to be practicing our Superman position. So we are prone, lying flat on our stomach. We're in our Superman, so that means arms and legs up, and then it turns into like almost like a swimmer. So it should look like this. So typically with something like a Superman, we're only targeting our middle and lower back by creating a little bit of extension that we are given through our spine. Now when we do the arm hauler, we're trying to hold that extension as well as move through our range of motion with our shoulders, which is going to target the upper back. So we have 20 of those. Now, if you find this really difficult, it's because holding the Superman for a prolonged amount of time is a prerequisite to doing something like the arm hauler. The last thing we have is a Russian twist with body weight. I want to be really careful with these. So when we twist, or when we bend, right, or we extend and we flex, our core, and when you guys think about working core, you guys happen to think about doing sit-ups, doing your Russian twists a lot, doing V-ups, doing toes to bar. So we don't have a lot of extension and flexion abilities or lateral flexing abilities. Our core works mainly in resisting force, not in creating force. So we want to target it that way. When you guys do your twist, I don't want you to like try and really create that twist. It's a lot of shearing force. Not to say that it's bad, but it's not in the way which your muscles in this area work. So we want to take advantage of that. So I'm going to sit on my butt. Legs in a comfortable position, not too comfortable, right? And have a slight lean back so I can have my legs off of the ground. And then my goal is to kind of squeeze my quads, point my toes. I'm gonna wind myself and then switch. Wind myself, switch. We want to do our best to not do this. And just let our legs flail all over the place. We want to be very precise with our movement. So 60 is a ton of reps, and and in the notes, it's actually encouraging you to go as fast as possible. I want to see as fast as possible, but most importantly, as controlled as possible. So that is our finisher. This is your NC-HIIT workout for Friday the 24th. If you have any questions, please reach out to any of us. We would love to answer you or just even talk to you. So see you guys.